Commercial chicken farming requires a high level of expertise, understanding, and commitment to be successful. While it is important to emphasize the need for excellent flock management at all times, something that comes with experience and skill, adopting the correct housing techniques and equipment will set a firm foundation for success. Broadly, there are different systems of rearing chicken, namely free range, that is extensive, semi-intensive, folding units, and intensive systems. The choice of system to use is mainly dictated by available resources, with deep litter indisputably being the most widely used across the country. In recent years, battery cage has been gaining popularity, making farmers choose between the two based on purpose and preference. Today's show gives insights to how the two systems compare to further inform your choice. Battery cage systems entail rearing birds in compartment units where floors are of standard strong galvanized wire, plastic also available, that slope from back to the front. Deep litter, however, is a system where chickens are reared on floors made of concrete but covered with litters like sawdust or wood shavings to make birds feel comfortable. Okutangura, a poultry expert, takes us through the requirements to consider when building a poultry house, whether for deep litter or battery caged systems.
There are some basics which we should look into, like for example the size of the house. The size of the poultry house, each bird is supposed to occupy at least 2 square feet. The 2 square feet is to enable the bird to have a free space and to prevent overcrowding. Because you know when they are overcrowded, it results to so many things like cannibalism, feather pecking, and maybe there will be competition for resources such as feeds and water. So they have to have enough space. And when it comes to the poultry housing, we should consider the height, maybe the height of the wall, which is supposed to be at least 3 feet. It should be at 3 feet high from the ground. And then the rest should be under wire mesh. And normally we use the chicken wire for the ventilation. And then we look at the height of the house, the height of the poultry house, which should be around 7 to 8 feet high from the floor to the roof. That is to enable free circulation of air. And then, of course, we should have the laying boxes for the birds.
Poultry house design should consider the health, safety, comfort, and productivity of your birds. Different farmers design different structures subject to their budget.
When you are doing the poultry house construction, it will depend with your pockets, the money you have. You can use any locally available material. There are some farmers who use the mabatis or the iron sheets. There are some farmers who will use wood or timber. Some farmers will use mud, some farmers will use mud. Some will use concrete, or concrete. So it all depends with the pockets.
Poultry coops seem to be built in almost every possible shape and size. Many existing buildings can easily be adapted to accommodate poultry.
When putting up this structure, I first wanted to know the location of the wind. Because what happens if you put it directly towards the wind, the chicken tend to start getting diseases like pneumonia and other diseases. So I had to build alongside so that the wind cannot go directly to the chicken, but can go sideways so that the air goes in well. And also I had to actually measure the size of the size of the house itself, and know the spacing of the cuckoos, because at least each cuckoo needs about 2 feet per square meter. So 2 feet per square meter. So that is what made me put up such a structure. And also I tried to use the locally available materials that I had. I had to mix the ball timber with the other good timber so that it can cut costs. Also I had to put wire mesh and chicken wire on the sides other than the mabatis so that I can be able to cut costs. I also had to buy this whole the dropper gunia, as you can see, the dropper sheets, and I had to take them to one of my fundis to be able to knit them so that I can be able to cover it, to cover the whole structure. This would do close to about 1.7, around 1.7 to 2 million, the structure itself.
When building the structure, nili consider how many birds nataka kuleta. Then nilikuwa pia na Google nione, I've never done it before, so nilikuwa nafanya research sana. Nikaangalia kwa internet per bird inafaa kukuwa na space kiasi gani. Then I looked for a fundi mwenye ameijengea kuku, si ene fundi. I looked for a fundi mwenye ameijengea kuku, anajua kuku zinataka nini na zinafaa kukaa mahali panakaa aje, na ni a device according to kuku zenye naleta kama hiyo space itatoshea. So I looked for a fundi, akaniambia what to buy, what to do, and then we started na tukajenga.
Certain requirements must be met, like the width of the open-sided poultry house should be about 30 feet, that is 9.8 meters, and no more than 40 feet, that is 12.2 meters wide. A good poultry house protects the birds from the environmental circumstances like weather, predators, injury, and theft.
Our venture into this poultry farming is based on a business model that we had to look at. We invested some time and resources to basically get things done right. So we went ahead and did some research on the internet, and also consulted the people who are expert in the poultry farming, and that's how we arrived into doing this kind of a structure. So if you note from the way it is in terms of the shielding, it needs to be a little bit raised. This purely for safety of the birds. You need to prevent them from insects, rodents like snakes, those crawling animals, because they can attack them. At this point, we also do a halfway. This purely to, when you are doing it, you also have to make sure your design ensures that the structure is not exposed to too much wind that brings blows in. And also, that would bring in a lot of wind and cold. The birds need to keep warm so that they feed less. Just like you, when it is very cold, you want to keep feeding. So if again you do your structure based on, you don't factor those areas, different climatic conditions, then you'll end up feeding, your feeding cost will go up. Because that bird will keep eating to remain warm. So that's why you find it is almost, I would say, halfway done with protected. The upper part is open, and we have factored the roof that also reduces the exposure of the wind coming in. It is, you note it's not flat. because again it will mean the wind just hit direct. It's slanting. Quite a lot will divert the wind that blows in. This upper part allows the circulation of air in and out. Then if you note this part, I'm sure you'll ask me, why is then this not open? Chickens also becomes excited by too much light. And that's where cannibalism starts. If the sun is coming from east to west, then you have to protect that area because it will be rising and you get that excitement in the morning will force your chickens to start cannibalizing the others. So we are protected and they only get light when it is facing down, not when it is hitting. So the structure then defines the way the structure needs to be done from east to west. So all those factors when you are doing the structure, become well. Again, you can imagine if it was now done the other way and the wind blows from this side too, it means your neighbors will always complain of. Again, you limit because the wind hits the block, so you'll not feel that smell of your birds all over the compound. So that touches more on the structure why we have done it this way, from this end to the other end.
For deep litter system, birds need adequate space for movement and exercise, as well as areas to nest and roost. For 100 hens, the poultry house should be 6 meters wide by 6 meters long by 6 meters high. Do not make solid walls more than 0.5 meters high. Close the remainder of the space with wire mesh and chicken wire. This wall can be made from stones, iron sheets, timber, silver boards or bricks. Cement floors have the best finishing as they are easier to clean. There should be a foot bath at the entrance of the house for those entering to disinfect their footwear. To reduce the risk of rodents gaining entrance into the flock house, clear all the vegetation in a radius of 3 to 5 meters around the pen.
And then we should use wood shavings. We can use wood shavings for the litter on the floor. We can also use rice husks. We can use coffee husks as the litter. The importance of the litter, this is to absorb the excess moisture. It will also help to insulate the birds because it gets very cold at night. So those are the importances of the litter.
Training hens to lay eggs in the right place is important for getting fresh eggs daily. In the poultry house, put wooden floors or baskets. Put straw into them. These are the nests in which the hens lay their eggs. Collect the eggs 3 times a day, that is every morning, at noon, and in the evening. There should be a sufficient number of nests. You need 1 nest for every 5 hens. Okuta emphasizes on the need for a cozy zone inside the structures where the hen will lay eggs. Kimani, a farmer from Matasia, keeping a total number of 3,000 birds, practices a deep litter system.
Deep litter is whereby the bird is on the ground. Actually, it's just roaming around, and there are actually some small coops where they get in and lay their eggs. So this is deep litter. Now this whole poultry house is sitting on 1/4 acre. That is 100 by 100, if I may say. That is where I'm able to do deep litter. I can do roughly deep litter, roughly about 3,000 birds to 3,500, as opposed to the caged system. The caged, I can do about 5,000 in this house because they really require a very small space. But for this, they need 2 by 2 square feet per barn. So actually there's an advantage of the cage system, but also the cages are quite costly. So you'll always have to weigh in and see what you're able to do. Yeah? But also starting with this is good because once you start with deep litter, you always learn a lot about, the chicken.